The Intergovernmental Affairs Committee will come to order. And Gracia?
Present.
No. I was having you to come to order.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Alderman Rhodey, Alderman Vollmer,
Present.
Alderwoman Ingracia,
Present.
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderman Bosley, Alderwoman Pam Boyd,
Present.
Chairman Moore,
Present.
Alderman Rhodey, Alderwoman Tyus, Alderman Bosley, Moore present, you have a quorum.
We're here today to hear Board Bill number 31. And what we're going to do is just hear the board bill. We're not going to vote on it. We'll have the sponsor of the bill, Joe Vaccaro, to start.
Thank you, and I had asked that the bill be held. Both the group that's there now and the group that want to come in, I had meetings with both groups. And, hey, Joe, I had meetings with both groups. And although my board bill does support Renovate, which would be an additional company, I want everybody to have the opportunity to hear from both sides. One of the arguments I've heard on the con side, or actually the pro side of going to a second company, is competition's good. And the other thing is they said that the company that exists there now, which is the one company, has not done one residential property. So at this point, what I'd like to do, and like I said, I'd ask not to have a vote. The company that's in place now says they are going to start doing residential. So what I would ask is we hear from both sides, come back at your convenience, whether it's 3 or 4 weeks from now, to see how they're doing on the residential side and where we're at as far as moving forward with the second company. I personally, like I said, I think competition's good, but it's up to this committee to make a decision. So again, I did ask for not having a vote, but I would like to at least give everybody the opportunity that I had to hear from both sides. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think the competition is good as well. And I don't like to see, we call it competition, but to be redundant, to have the same issue over and over again, I think is a bit much for the city of St. Louis. And I would like to hear from a representative of Darlene Green's office to tell about the program that they have.
Chairman Moore and committee members, good morning. On behalf of Comptroller Darlene Green, thank you for the opportunity to present this information on the Green Help Energy Efficiency Loan Program that we implemented in October of 2016. If you know that Comptroller was able to get bond funding for this program in the amount of $2 million. So after we launched in October 2016, we were able to go out to many of your wards to present the information. We still have not been able to present to many wards as of this point, and we are still wanting to go out and present this information to your ward and to your neighborhood organizations because it is an excellent opportunity for our city residents. If you look at the brochure, the Green Help Home Energy Efficiency Loan Program, some of the qualifications for this program: you must be a city resident, the property must be owner occupied for the life of the loan, property must be a single family home, and as a recommendation, probably beginning July 1, our working group would like to recommend to Comptroller Green that we add duplex housing for review. Another qualification for this program is all of the real estate property taxes must be up to date, and the best component is there is no minimum income. Most of our CDA programs have an income-based guideline. Some of the projects eligible for this program are your heating, air conditioning, ventilation, duct sealing and air infiltration, doors and windows, installation, solar panels, hot water heaters, heat pump, and energy store major appliance replacement. The loan terms for this program, as of now, the maximum loan value is $15,000 per applicant. Repayment terms are up to 10 years at an interest rate of 2.11%. For example, if an applicant requested a loan in the amount of, just say, $4,500, that would be on a tiered level, and they would have up to 3 years to pay for that loan, up to $10,000, 5 years, up to $15,000, 10 years. So it is a 3-tier program. As of now, for some statistics, we have, as of today, 27 approved applications in which we're close to $275,000 that we have loaned out. There are in the approximation of 22 applications that has been rejected for a credit score or too high of a debt-to-income ratio. And one of the other qualifications that I did not mention is that you must have a credit score of 625 or above. Debt-to-income ratio is 45% or below. And we also have about 30 incomplete applications. So if you look at a total population of how many applications has been submitted to the online web portal, I would say approximately 85. Approximate value, $800,000. So we will have approximately $260,000 still in the hopper to be completed for approval. If you talk about some of the project types and where the money is being loaned and what for, majority is doors and windows, attic insulation, furnaces, air conditioning, and we've had one solar project that has been maxed to the $15,000 total. So that's where we are to date. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
So do you approve of this board bill?
I do not have an opinion on the board bill as of now. I agree with you. I have no opinion on the board bill, and I can't state that opinion right now on behalf of the comptroller. But if you look at competition, competition is great. But I think it would be great if one project or contractor has been approved and has some basis that we can review as far as statistics, accomplishments, before we bring another person on board.
Do you think that you have a PACE program and a HERO program? Do you think they're
At the HERO program, no.
Do you think that they're interfering with what you're doing?
No,
or-
sir.
So you would approve of it then, right?
I'm not going to approve or disapprove.
Okay.
But there is no competition in relation to our program.
Okay. I ask members of the committee, is there any questions, starting with Alderman Rhodey?
I'm sorry, what is the source of funds for this program?
Quality, innovation, and conservation bonding, which was sold back in May of 2016. Our financial advisor went to the state along with SLDC, and they got an allotment of funding, and they sold the bonds. And we had like a portion left for this green community program
So is this federal money or,
Yes.
but is it city money? So the city borrowed the money and then we're relending it? Is that what's going on? Is there any, you act like there was an allotment,
We have $2 million. In the program, the specific Series B and C bonding was a total of $3,635,000, and $1.5 million went to Carnahan for the chillers. And then the other $2 million was set aside for the Green Community Program, which is the energy efficiency loan program.
but,
And this went before the Board of Aldermen, and,
It was my bill.
yeah, it was your bill.
I could explain it if.
sure, yeah, I'm just kind of confused on where the money comes from.
Great.
So, this was a bond issue, it's city money, we have to pay it back, and she's right, $1.5 million of the money went for the chiller, and because a certain amount of that could have been spent on city-owned buildings, even this building, but $1.5 million went to the chiller, which is being installed right now. The rest was set aside for low income, not low income, because it could be any income, but energy efficient loans. This is limited to the $2 million that's left. Once that's gone, it's gone.
You have 3 years.
But they got 3 years to spend $1 million and whatever. But once that $1 million and whatever's done, this program's done. And you'll see the difference today in the different programs. The one that I introduced on Board Bill 31, since it's private funds, it's unlimited, so they can loan millions and millions with this. Once this money's loaned, it's loaned. But yeah, this is a board bill that I did 2 years ago, and I'm proud of it. I mean, it really does help. And again, it's taking care of the Carnahan building right now, and there is the availability for loans right now, as long as your taxes are paid up. A little bit different than, you'd almost like to see some programs be put in or an extension to Healthy Home, because there's a lot of homes where the people don't qualify for this type of a loan.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to understand, so this is, the city of St. Louis borrowed $2 million.
Right.
For
A
this
very low interest, a real low interest.
So I presume borrowed tax exempt, and then the city of St. Louis is paying this back through their general revenue then?
Yes, and so what's happening is they are, and as the money gets loaned out, through PACE, it'll get paid back to us, but it's over a very long term.
So we used a general obligation bond.
Right.
$3.5 million, $1.5 million went to the Carnahan Courthouse, $2 million came in and went to this program to be loaned out. And there's no particular income guidelines or anything, but we basically borrowed that money at tax exempt rates, and then we're then lending it out to city residents for their owner-occupied homes.
Right.
At how much, 5 or 10?
0.11%.
Yeah.
2.1%. And they can borrow up to 15,000,
Right.
but after you hit the 2 million, it's all gone.
Right, then it's
And
done.
then, but they're obligated to pay us back then, is that correct?
Right, so we'll gain the interest, but it's, if I'm correct, it's on your property tax, so
No.
It's not?
No.
Okay,
no,
so
it's
that's,
not. It's not on the property tax. They have a fixed, like, just a regular consumer loan, where if you borrow $15,000, your interest rate is 2.11%, and if you have a 10-year repayment plan, you're amortized over that entire period. And the funds are coming back to the trustee, and those funds go towards paying the entire loan back.
Okay, so are we is the city servicing, who services those loans? Okay,
You're our trustee.
okay, and there's $2 million of that at 15,000, so 10 would be 150. So you're talking, 100 to 150 loans perhaps, is that
Right, our financial advisor estimated that we could loan between 175 to 225 loans with the allotment of, and I'm just saying allotment, with the amount of $2 million.
Okay. And
And we have repayments already coming in now, and we have total 100% of activated loans, and they are being repaid.
I guess I'm trying to understand, why do we need to get a state allotment, though? You said something about an allotment from the state?
Maybe I'm using the wrong terminology, but the financial advisor had to go to the state because each community in Missouri was given so much money for energy conservation projects, and we had a set amount, and you went to the state and got that approved.
Mr.
So
Chairman.
they weren't giving us,
Mr.
they
Chairman.
weren't,
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Could you ask her to please stay at the mic so everyone can hear? Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
it wasn't really, they weren't giving us money, they were just
Oh,
giving.
they didn't give us any money.
But they're just giving us, we were authorized to borrow money on a tax-exempt
Yes.
basis. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Alderman Vollmer.
No questions. Mr. Rhodey covered what I was worried about. Thank you.
Alderwoman Gracia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning.
Good morning.
So you indicated that you had 27 approved applications
Yes.
totaling about $275,000. So that money has already been distributed?
Yes.
Okay, and that's what you're speaking to with respect to the 100% repayment rate? Okay. Have you had any meetings or interactions with the Set the Pace, the current board that the city has in place, just with respect to the similarities or commonalities?
No.
Okay. No other questions? Thanks.
Alderwoman Tyus.
What did you say the time frame? This has been in effect since when?
October, just say soda bonds, May of 2016, and the program became available October 2016. But we have to have all of the money loaned out, committed by May of 2019.
Okay, so the time frame is from 10/16 to when?
2019. 2019.
Anytime, by December?
May
May, okay.
2019.
Okay, and how many loans did you say you had out right now? Do you know?
We have a total of 27 approved applications,
And how many were disapproved?
22. And about, just say, 35 that are incomplete. Some need more information, and some are just totally incomplete.
And did you say you already have some that were being repaid back already?
Yes.
Okay, and is there, what was the cap on the amount you could borrow?
15,000.
Okay, and, and did you say that there were, you had an approximate number of loans that you thought could be made?
Between 175 to 225 loans. That's our estimate. And we did that just based on an average amount of
Okay.
loans for the 2 million.
And so, so there is no revolving amount that you would keep into place, so it's over at that time. Everybody pays the money back, the city over long-term pays the money that they've borrowed back, and that's the end of the program.
Yes.
And was there no way to set it up so that we could keep it replenished and going, or was that never the intent?
I don't think that was the original intent to have it revolving, but after the money has been expended, if if there's an allotment or the program is still available, maybe we can go back and get another amount to borrow.
What do you anticipate would happen if we had money left over at the end of the program? What would happen?
If money is still left over,
Yes, ma'am.
that money would go towards city buildings.
Okay. And how was it decided about how much would go to the Carnahan building and how much would be left for, was that part of the original,
That was part of the original plan.
okay, and I think that might have been in the ordinance.
It
then.
is in the ordinance.
Right, okay. And who's doing this? The comptroller's office, but who in the comptroller's office? Is it in here?
The comptroller's office is Just say I'm the program administrator,
Okay.
program manager for the program, and we have a program administrator by the name of Incline. They set up the web portal. They are reviewing the applications for the credit score and the debt to ratio income.
Okay, and you said that you don't have a, well, not that you don't have an opinion, but you're representing the comptroller's office, and so therefore the comptroller is not weighing in on one side or the other. Is that the correct understanding?
I don't have that information at this time.
Okay, but you're not weighing in,
No, ma'am.
and you've not been instructed by the comptroller to weigh in on the side.
No, ma'am.
So therefore, the comptroller's not taking a position if you're her representative. All right, thank you. I have no further questions.
Thanks, Ms. Tyus.
With 27 applicants you have,
Yes, sir.
is that a little slow? How are you soliciting people to get involved by this brochure? Is this only,
Just say for our marketing plan, and it has not been an aggressive marketing plan, because we wanted to start very small before we had a conglomerate of applications that come in, and then there was a long review and processing time. So we've got the program pretty much outlined, streamlined, and very, procedure is in place, working procedure. So now we're getting ready to go back out to the neighborhoods, back out to the wards, in which I will send another email to each one of the aldermen to invite us to your meetings so that we can present, like we presented to your ward, and you had, 300 people? I think we had about 25 applications just from your ward meeting that night. So it is very important that the aldermen get us into the ward meetings, into the neighborhood meetings. I remember Ms. Ingracia coming to her ward, and we were able, and I'll give you information. As soon as we go to a neighborhood meeting or to a ward meeting, that night, our program administrator will call me and say, you went to a neighborhood meeting, because people are automatically going online, entering their application. So the election was here, and we're getting ready to restart our marketing program, going back out to the neighborhoods, going back out to the wards, and we will introduce the program to city employees very soon. So I expect that the $2 million will be gone by the end of December. That's what I'm hoping for.
what do you think about working with the other two agencies to speed up the process? Have you ever thought about that?
We welcome anyone who can help market our program.
Have you reached out to them?
No, sir.
Will you be willing to do that?
Of course I will.
Okay, we'll ask them when they come up. Are they willing to work with you?
That'll be great.
Okay. Alderman Bosley.
Thank you. I don't have any questions.
Alderman Pam Boyd.
I wanted to know, how do you think you'll be able, how could you strengthen this program? Because to me, it seems like it hasn't been marketed enough, one. And a lot of residents that's in a lot of our wards don't have a 625 credit.
Right.
So I'm seeing them being excluded out of the whole process. And the comptroller did come to my meeting, and she did talk about it. And that was a concern for my seniors, because, you know, they were like, we're on a fixed income and we don't have the score that would qualify us. So how could you strengthen that program? Is there any way you could strengthen it to help those people so they could be able to, you know, qualify?
Well, first, we have a 625 credit score. And we set that in place trying to accommodate a portion of city residents, because if you put them at the county program, which was a credit score of 660, a lot more people would not have been able to qualify the program. So we brought our program from a 660, where the county had theirs, to a 625. If we go below a 625, you are forfeiting the repayments, where the city general fund would probably have to step in and make a payment, and we did not want to take that chance.
Okay.
We're not going to even say that we may not have to do that one day, but we're hoping that the city general fund will not have to support this program at all with the credit score being at 625. So that's why it was set at that rate,
So.
twofold.
So, has any work been started on from those applications? Any work has been completed or done?
Many of those 20,
Right, that's what they
out of those 27 approved applications, many of those projects have been started and completed. I know specifically, we just completed the solar project. And if I go through our listing, I would probably say 80% or close to 85% of the 27 are complete as of today.
Okay, that's all I have.
Is there any commercial component to it?
No, only residential.
Okay. Let's see, I will call from the pro and con. I will start with the pro. Any other questions for this young lady before I let her go?
I'm gonna see you soon.
Everybody good? Sharon, you looking like you got a question?
I always have questions. We're going to move on. I'll talk to her privately.
Daniel Turan.
Thank you all.
I'll
Thank
talk
you.
to you. I'll call myself.
Daniel, you a pro for this issue?
Yes, sir, I am.
Pull the microphone up some and hold the base. There we go.
Thanks. Yeah, so hi, my name is Daniel Trurind. I'm with an environmental group here in the city called 350 SDL. I'm a volunteer. I'm not getting paid to work for 350. I don't get paid by Renovate America. I'm taking off of work to be here. I learned about, I guess it was Board Bill 109 during the last session, just through research into solar. And I think a lot of you guys have gotten emails from me, and I appreciate your responses, and I really appreciate that you guys are so focused on the nuts and bolts of all this. It makes me feel good to be a city resident. So I'm for this. And for me, what it boils down to is that we've had recent carbon dioxide atmosphere counts of 410 parts per million. So it's well above the safe limit, and I think most of us would agree that we're starting to see effects of climate change here in St. Louis. So that's one thing. We get 80%, or close to 80% of our energy from coal. We have a federal government who's not going to be doing anything about this anytime soon. I think it's safe to say that we have a state government that's not going to be doing anything about this anytime soon. I don't think that our utility is really tackling this issue aggressively. And so the responsibility falls to us at the city level. Now, I don't think that having a second PACE provider come in is going to fix the problem in and of itself, but I think it's a step in the right direction. If we can increase efficiency standards, if we get more residents and businesses using more efficient, hot water heaters and furnaces and air conditioners, if we get more residents and businesses weatherizing their windows, that is less carbon being put into the air. The big thing for me is that even if we improve efficiency, we're still getting 80% of our energy from coal. So we need to start to move to solar and wind. We just have to. The cost of solar is coming way down. Battery technology is improving drastically. I think the Tesla wall right now, the battery pack that you can get for your home provides something like 7 kilowatt hours of energy. So that's about a quarter of an average American household's energy usage. So we're getting to a point where solar is becoming a viable option to get a large part of our energy from. And so, you know, these programs, both of them, will lead to residential and commercial solar. And it's been shown that once one person gets solar on their block, that their neighbors are many times more likely to install solar themselves. So again, like solar, the amount of energy coming from solar globally is increasing exponentially. And I think it needs to continue to increase exponentially. And I think that allowing a second PACE provider to operate in the city is a step in the right direction. And you know, I've read some negative things about the company that, you know, that joining the Missouri Clean Energy District would let in. You know, I've read articles, and I just don't, you know, having read those things, having talked with people from the provider, I don't think that they're the bad actor that they've been portrayed as. And you know, I believe that the current city provider will be better for having competition. And so I just don't think, you know, I think the onus is on the city to take action against climate change, and there just isn't any time to waste. And so that's my piece. Thank you.
Any questions? Alderman Rhodey.
No questions.
Alderman Vollmer.
No questions, thank you, sir.
Alderwoman Ingracia.
Thank you, and thanks for your time down here. I hope I've been responsive. I definitely recognize your name for receiving emails. How did you find out about the hearing today?
So if I could tell a chronological story without directly answering your question, I'll try to keep the
A direct answer would be perfect.
Okay, sure. Mr. Maslowski told me about the meeting today.
Okay. And that's, how did you find out about Board Bill 109 last go around?
So I heard on the Earthworms podcast, she interviewed Mr. Maslowski.
Okay.
And so then I just, a Google search, I saw Board Bill 109. I saw that it hadn't gotten out of committee. I saw the sponsor and the co-sponsors and the people on the, the Alder members on the IGA. And I emailed every single one of those people, and
Okay.
That's how that ball got rolling.
Thank you. Have you had any conversations with the current operators of the
I
PACE
haven't,
program?
though. I very much look forward to having conversations with them.
Okay, thank you.
Alderwoman Tyers.
And you're not professionally involved? Are you professionally involved in any way with clean energy? You just a supporter of clean energy, just as a resident are you resident of the city of St. Louis?
15th Ward, yes, ma'am. And that's correct. I'm not professionally, I have no financial interest in, I work as a contractor for a computer company. I edit training documents, and that's how I make all of my money.
And, but you are active maybe with clean energy some?
Yeah, so my girlfriend actually started 350 STL the day after the presidential election And so I'm now the co-chair of the Renewable Energy Working Group. We haven't, we have a growing membership, about 200 people right now, and we put on the People's Climate March in conjunction with other 350 groups across the country on April 29th. But we haven't, we're still, we haven't been, we're new. So I'm just kind of getting in, this is new for me.
And you talked about solar energy, so, and the cost coming down, and just so I can be forthcoming, my husband does green energy. He does it on large scale with big companies. Here in St. Louis, he helped Harris Stowe. He does historically black colleges and other companies too, so that's actually what he does. He takes engineers into places, tells them all the ways that they can save money, and helps them save money on green energy.
I'd love to talk with you more about that.
He's been doing that for 20-something years now.
Oh, wow, that's incredible.
Right. So you talked, though, about solar energy and the cost coming down, but some of the, I guess some of the jinx and concerns I've been having is that I've been watching the federal government talk about taking away some of the subsidies that have helped these things come down. So do you, anyway, and see that something would affect, if they take these subsidies away, do you see that affecting this program in any way?
I hesitate to comment on that because I'm not an expert in economic cause and effect, but my sense is that, yes, it would affect the program, and to what extent, I can't say. I hope it wouldn't be a death blow, but again, I am not an expert on these things. Thank you.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Alderman Bosley.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Boyd. Pamela.
No questions.
Okay, thank you, sir. You have a comment?
Just to reiterate what I've said already, I hope that the board will allow this to come to a vote before the alder membership at large. And thank you very much, Mr. Moore.
Thank you. We have Todd Vinosky. I'm Todd, you're John. Are you Todd?
That's John.
Pro, John Maslowski.
I'm calling for Todd.
Oh,
I'll do a pro and a con, a pro and a con.
Oh, okay, I see. Thank you. Well, good morning, Chairman, members of the board. My name is Todd Velnosky. It's a tricky one, I know.
Yeah. Just more.
So I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today. I represent the Rockwood Group. Rockwood, along with Energy Equity Funding and Y-Green, we make up the administrative team for Set the Pace St. Louis, your PACE program. We've worked hard. We've spent a great deal of money and have been very thoughtful to create what we think will be one of the best PACE programs in the country. It'll be a program that'll make financing available to homeowners and commercial property owners in every part of the city, with consumer protections to make sure all of your constituents know what they are signing and that they will only participate in the program if it works for them. We are training local contractors, including minority and women-owned contractors, to do the work. So our program will create jobs for local workers. Most importantly, the program is under local control. It's under the oversight of a board appointed by the mayor with advice and consent from you. The city holds us accountable for everything, including consumer protections, women and minority business enterprise compliance, ethics, and customer complaints. The city selected us after a rigorous national RFP process. We were chosen by a committee made up of representatives of the mayor, the president of the board, and the comptroller. After that, we negotiated a contract and signed a contract so the city would know exactly what we were supposed to do, and we would know exactly how you were going to hold us to our promises. And that last part's important. You are holding us to our promises, not some folks you've never met. So where are we? Last Tuesday, the city's Clean Energy Development Board approved the final resolutions necessary for full implementation of the residential program. So this Tuesday, this one coming up, we will start accepting and processing applications from homeowners. Your constituents and contractors will be able to log on and apply for financing through this great program. We arrived at this moment because of the effort of many dedicated people within the administrator family. It's also worth noting that the Set the Pace St. Louis program is locally controlled and it reflects your values. So the benefits of this program will be as far-reaching as possible. The city required the winning bidder to follow its MBE and WBE regulations and laws. So we have partnered with MOCAN to help us achieve this and achieve the results you expect. So right now we think we will have a pre-apprenticeship program of between 10 and 20 placements, and that we will have trained somewhere between 30 and 50 minority contractors. We are excited to be part of the city's efforts to be inclusive and to play a part in addressing issues of racial equity. Now, some of you have probably wondered, and I'm assuming this is not probably, you've all wondered what's taken so long to roll out the residential program. In part, it's because we've spent a great deal of time and money ensuring the program meets all federal, state, and local laws and regulations. We put together a program with integrity and credibility with credit markets, so we can have great interest rates. But your board also wanted us to put state-of-the-art consumer protections in place, which we then worked with national groups to devise these consumer protections, and then your board adopted. Now, these are not hollow promises. They are the official policy of the city of St. Louis. If we do not follow them, indeed, if we don't follow any of our contractual obligations, the board can take any action against us, including firing and replacing us. The board can also review and improve the rules as necessary to protect homeowners. You don't have to ask someone in another city to do this. You can do it yourselves. At the end of the day, any PACE program and its objectives are only as good as the foundation that they're built on. For the program to attract willing contractors, property owners, capital markets, and perhaps even new businesses to the area, the foundation must be resolute. Much of the efforts in the last year have been dedicated to creating a program consistent with the unique and sensible requirements of the Missouri PACE Act and also your values. There are many models for PACE program deployment, but they all require effort to ensure compliance, and that's what we've done. The RFP and our contract make it very clear that we had to cover all of the costs to create such a program, and we have done so. In return, the city agreed to give us a 3-year exclusive opportunity so that we would have enough time to do enough business to absorb all of those startup costs. So to date, we have spent nearly $1.5 million in direct expenses. Much of these expenses were directed towards statutory, program, and other compliance matters, as well as creation of all the necessary documentation, such as assessment contracts. We also spent considerable time with the assessor and collector to ensure that statutory and technical matters were identified and addressed. Living up to our commitments and doing this the right way are of paramount importance to us, even to the point of a delayed implementation. So now here we are, we're 1 year into a 3-year contract. It's up to you to decide whether you want to allow another PACE program in from another Missouri city, but we would like the opportunity to fulfill our contract before you do so. I would also suggest that before you allow another city to expand into St. Louis, that you do another vigorous RFP to make sure that the city is protected, and most importantly, your constituents are protected. Local control works. Set the Pace St. Louis will prove that. I thank you for your time this morning, and I'll answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from Alderman Rhodey?
No questions.
Alderman Vollmer?
You, in your statement, mentioned the mayor's office. You're talking about the current mayor's office behind this, or the last mayor's office? Have you spoken with the new mayor as far as where she stands on this particular agenda?
No, I've not spoken with the current mayor.
Okay, so then the mayor's office in the past was behind this?
Yes.
I just wanted to clear that up. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Ingracia.
Thank you. Good morning. I know that you've not yet undertaken any residential projects, but can you explain to us the commercial projects that you've done, sort of the dollar amount and what those projects entailed?
Yes, we have. We've got 2 large commercial projects in the application pipeline right now. One is the Missouri Theater project, which there's a summertime anticipated close for that. I believe at present the estimated the PACE portion of the project is about $9 to $10 million. The second project is the Greenleaf Grocery and Convenience Store project, and the PACE portion of that project is right around $2 to $2.5 million.
And is Greenleaf the grocery store in the 5th Ward?
Yes.
Paul McKee project?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have it in front of me, I apologize, I didn't bring it with me, but I was reading through some of the minutes on your website, and there seemed to be about 5 or 7 projects that were approved, and neither of those were listed in there. I know Amy and Amrit Gill were on that list. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
I am familiar with some of those projects. Some of them did not seek PACE funding after they went through their primary financing source.
Okay, and then, did you do a project at Missouri Athletic Club?
Not under I'll have to look back for timing on this. A year ago, the new administrator started, so I don't remember what the funding date was on Missouri Athletic Club, if it was before.
The project they did, DEF coordinated that before the existing contract.
So it was a project that was completed?
Yes.
Okay, and when you say you represent the Rockwood Group, can you explain a little more clearly what that means?
I am an employee of the Rockwood Group,
Okay, and what is your position there?
Chief Operating Officer of PACE funding.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Tyrus.
Far out. You talked about that you had to delay implementation. Why is that?
When we were working through the Missouri PACE statute, creating a really good program to fit that, well, actually, let me take a step back. There are a lot of models for PACE deployment in the country. Most notably, and you'll see where the volumes are at, they're California and Florida. And every PACE program is unique across the country. When we were looking at Missouri PACE versus California and Florida, there are some pretty substantial differences in terms of how those programs can execute. And so we needed to spend a fair amount of time making sure we could take a repeatable process that's used other places and have it conform to the statute. And it's a little bit like peeling the onion back. As you work through different issues, you realize, I now need to address this, I now need to address that. And we're a company that looks at risks very seriously, and we seek to address them. And so we simply had to push off by a little bit deployment of the residential program to satisfy ticking and tying out on statutory matters and then also program matters.
Are you an attorney?
No, ma'am, I am not.
And you talked about California. Do you implement programs in other cities?
Right now, we are implementing programs in the city and the county of St. Louis.
That's the extent?
As
You
of right
hadn't
now,
done any
yes.
before that?
No.
And you talked about feeling that you had an exclusive right with the city under our ordinance, I guess it is, or was it a separate contract signed?
We do have a separate contract signed.
And was that a right to have exclusive, was that in the ordinance or was that in the contract? Do you know?
We'll look at Brad.
There's a contract with the city board, and that is the right to run the program. I also think there's...
Sir, would you identify yourself? Who are you?
Yeah, I'm Brad.
Thank you.
I'm an attorney for Rockwood. And there is a contract with the board, which gives them a right for 3 years to run the program. I think another sort of legal...
Wait.
Yes, ma'am.
Since you're an attorney, and I am too, so I can ask my own questions,
Very good.
okay? So the contract was with the board. It was not in the ordinance.
I mean, there's no designation of a administrator in the ordinance, but...
I hate when attorneys answer questions because it's a yes or no. Either was it in the ordinance?
It was not in the ordinance.
There you go. That's where I'm getting to. But it was, so you have a contract with, I guess, Mr. Williams and Otis Williams and that group.
And the Clean Energy Development Board.
And when you signed that contract, was it your understanding that that was to be exclusive with the city of St. Louis and their program?
I think that was the understanding of the parties. I think the other thing is they've invested substantially in this contract. And when they go, not to throw around sort of legal issues, but when a party invests based on a representation by the city, and then the city comes back and says, no, we're not going to do it that way, that can be a taking of property under some theories.
Well, and it could be that the city, Otis Williams cannot give you any such property rights for the Board of Aldermen, because we're the legislative body. So there's no such thing that he can give you, that he doesn't have the ability or the authority to do that. So you could argue that. I don't think you would get very far with that, okay? Now, that's why I asked you the difference, was it in an ordinance versus was it in a contract with them, okay? I do appreciate when people, let me just say, so I do appreciate, I told you, you heard me talk about my husband does this. So I do know when companies go out and they put a lot of money into things and get things started up. And then if somebody comes and it's like, okay, you got the garden planted now, and you've dug up all the rocks, and now somebody, and you planted the tomatoes, and people say, look what I did. Look at these beautiful tomatoes here. I did that. I planted some tomato plants. They didn't have to do any of the hard work, so I appreciate that. But I just want to try to understand what the legal commitment was.
All right, and I think just to make another point, though, I think there's also the big picture issue of if the city globally, just across the board, it does RFPs, and then, this would be the example of it, where they say, well, no, you know what, notwithstanding that RFP, notwithstanding that contract, and we're going to go a different direction. That does send a signal to all potential vendors on anything. If you're buying toilet paper, it sends a message to them, too. So I think there is a bigger, apart from the legal issues, there's a bigger public policy issue there, too, to consider.
And I hear that. I'm just not, so I hear your side. I'm not a fan of monopolies. For years, I hated Nationals being the only grocery store in North St. Louis, so I went out and got Snooks, and then Snooks became the monopoly. So I'm not a fan of monopolies, okay?
Fair point.
Or oligopolies. So I hear what you're saying about the RFP, but competition is a very big pull for me, and I do think that competition makes people better. When you don't have any competition, you can tend to be laid back, and you get the bottom of the barrel fruit because that's all you have access to. When somebody's making you compete with things, then you got to have your game on, your
Right.
A game,
I don't
or
disagree.
somebody will take that away from you.
And that's why there was a competitive bid process that my client prevailed in.
And so you're telling me that it's your understanding that nobody would be able to do business with the city for 3 years with the contract that you signed?
There is a
with the
contract for the city PACE program.
Have that with you?
I don't have it with me, no.
Could you
We
get
can
that
certainly
to me?
get that for you. We can certainly run that down for you. And I think both under contract terms and just sort of general notions of property, and when a contract is entered into and a property right,
Who signed the contract
the Clean
besides?
Energy Development Board.
That would be very nice when you're talking about something to have it.
I understand. Well-
Right, I'm just saying, if you do trial, when I used to do trial,
Exhibit A,
I
there
bring
you
it
go.
and give it to the person. That
enough.
makes a much better effect if I'm talking about it, if I could put it right before people.
Certainly so.
I have no further questions.
Okay, Alderman Bosley,
No questions.
Alderwoman Pam Boyd.
No question.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
John Malowski. If I say it wrong, John, I went to Sumner.
Don't be putting us something like
Thank you, Chairman Moore. John Maslowski, representing the public-private partnership between the Missouri Clean Energy District and Renovate America. I definitely appreciate the committee's time this morning. Thank you for all your time individually, getting to know you and understanding your questions and concerns and how our program can be a complement to the existing programs in the city. St. Louis is for PACE. PACE makes sense for the city. You have your own Set the PACE district, as we've been talking about. And yes, the RFP selected EEF in April 2016, more than a year ago, to be the city's Set the PACE administrator. Many, unfortunately, conservatives do not believe in the public policy around clean energy, CO2 reduction.
Excuse me a minute, John. Are you just for this? Do you have any handouts, anything?
I do. I was going to hand them out in a little bit, but I can get them going now. Thank you, sir.
There goes the big dramatic.
And looking at PACE as a financing option to help our communities become more energy efficient. You are a progressive city, and I commend you for taking a step forward with the PACE program. What the city has not yet realized are results with PACE. And when looking at the number of PACE applications that have been approved in the past year, I can tell you that our HERO program in the state has over 1,000 approved applications. We are making a positive difference in Missouri and in the St. Louis metro area. It is commonplace for cities and counties around the country to create their own district and supplement that with other options for residents to have more than one PACE option in the community. I'll give you an example of LA County has their own PACE district, and then they're members of 6 other PACE districts because they want to maximize choice and options for their constituents. Our HERO program is complementary to both the Comptroller's Green Help program. We look forward to working with the Comptroller and the city's Set the PACE program. encouraging a more energy efficient community. I've had real good conversations. I want to work with the Set the Pace and the EEF and the Y-Green team to advance PACE throughout the entire state. And I have actually had very positive conversations with the other statewide district, as well as Y-Green, as well as with EEF, the city's administrator, looking at how can we work together to advance PACE in Missouri. It's a tough state to get PACE going in all 114 counties. City of St. Louis, City of Kansas City, very progressive, and they get it. They understand we need to do something for clean energy and for the environment today. The state statute allows for you to create your own and join other statewide districts. As the state's Department of Economic Development and Division of Energy website clearly states, you could Google it now, Missouri PACE, scroll down to the bottom of the page, mo.gov, and it will tell you that this is within the state statute. Alderwoman, you were asking about the city's PACE ordinance. It clearly states that it is, the Set the Pace is a program, not the only PACE program that can be created in or joined in the city. By creating more than one PACE option, you create choice. We all want choice. We all want options. Unfortunately, others here today would prefer homeowners not have options. The Missouri Clean Energy District has been proving itself since 2011, and our HERO program since last year. And we too have invested substantially in our program and our consumer safeguards with no ask for exclusivity and no ask or even intention of being able to recoup those funds unless we're performing in the communities we serve. We've been building relationships in the city, in the county, the metro area, and the state, and we are driving actual tangible results. This is a young industry. There are many learnings. There are many others, people outside the industry that are putting opportunistic lawsuits to the industry trying to threaten PACE, something which we all have already agreed that we believe in. We have implemented our program, the HERO program, in the Missouri Clean Energy District, have implemented industry-leading consumer safeguards. 25 pages, and there's more exhibits to this, and I can certainly give them to all of you. But working with PACE Nation, the national nonprofit, to really understand what are the concerns of those outside the industry, and how can we address all those to make sure that PACE thrives throughout all of our communities. Fortunately, these consumer safeguards are the foundation for our program. The learnings of the HERO program over the past 6 years in Florida and California, we are bringing those best practices to Missouri, and that is the foundation of the program that we rolled out beginning in Kansas City in September of last year. What the handout that I provided includes our successes, the benefits that are being realized, the tangible results, and the numbers. No other PACE program in Missouri has actual tangible residential PACE results. We've developed this track record over the past 9 months. We've had over 1,500 applications, more than 1,000 approved. We have actually about 750 actual improvements now, whether it was solar or energy efficient HVAC units, energy efficient windows and doors, insulation, roofs. This has been almost $7 million that's been invested already in our local housing stock, improving property owners' homes, making them safer, breathing cleaner air. We've helped create over 60 jobs and had a $12 million economic impact, working with over 200 local contractors just in the past 9 months. We've helped with these energy efficient technologies. This will help reduce over 20,000 tons of emissions over the useful life of these technologies, and will save millions of energy bill savings for all property owners. We believe that our HERO program is the gold standard for consumer protections in the home improvement industry, including underwriting guidelines that have led to a 99% on-time payment rate. We are an advocate for seniors. We've had no issues in Missouri with seniors. We have a separate elder advocate team that works closely with seniors to make sure that they understand what PACE is and how it may be different than other traditional financing options. And the results. The results that I speak of, we have not had any issues in Missouri since we began offering PACE financing last year. That responsibility is me. I lead the HERO program in partnership with the Missouri Clean Energy District in Missouri, and I take that extremely seriously. We have a compliance team, and I make sure our compliance team is working closely with our local contractors to make sure that they're explaining the program correctly to contractors and property owners. We are hopeful that we will have the opportunity to provide an additional choice, another option for PACE financing in the city. The HERO program will complement the city's Set the Pace St. Louis program and provide another voluntary financing option in the community. We will have positive results to show in the city within 1 month of the city adopting the membership ordinance in the Missouri Clean Energy District. Last fall, I was testifying in front of the St. Charles County Council, and the president of the council asked me, when will I see results in the county? We've read things and we're not seeing results. That was November 28th. I said, if you adopt today, you will see results within 1 month. That was November 28th. We began showing results on December 22nd, less than 1 month later. We are working with local contractors, and we will help spur the benefits to help them grow their business to the city. We're going to help create over 200 jobs in the city of St. Louis, improve the local housing stock to over 1,000 homes, and empower homeowners to reduce their energy bills over the useful life of these technologies by more than $10 million over the useful life. This economic impact will be over $30 million to the city. We have, in the packet that I provided, we have support letters from State Senator Gina Walsh, who's also the president of the Missouri State Building and Construction Trades Council, supporting options and choice in the city. We also have support letters that have been prepared from local developers and minority and women-owned contractors sent to Alderman Moore. We've worked with Dumont Boozer and Ward 4, and he's moving forward with the program. He told us that this is the direction I want to take my business, and he believes in energy efficiency. We're excited to work with Dumont. We're working with another minority, but also woman-owned, Corey Elliott, with her roofing company in Ward 6. She's extremely excited to have this option available for her business and for the property owners that she works with. We have a number of other great support from Kwame Group, Garcia Properties, Williams Heating and Cooling, KAI. We want to continue building our network of local MBE and WBE contractors. We also have great support from your counterparts across the state, Kansas City Mayor Pro Tem Scott Wagner, where the city is actually also a member of multiple PACE districts. The current mayor of St. Louis was our bill sponsor last year, and appreciate her support. As I mentioned, I've been working with the current cities, Y-Green and EEF. We've been on panels together, trying to really explain PACE to the various communities and how can we work together. You know, I've seen the letter. There was a letter circulated by Rockwood, and there's really no legal basis or argument for these unfounded claims. I really am extending an olive branch to them today to work closely with them to advance PACE in Missouri. I'm doing so with Y-Green, who I don't see here today. I'm doing so with EEF, who I don't see here today. I want to do the same with the Rockwood Group as well. Let's all work together to make our community more energy efficient. We will provide results, and I want you to hold me accountable. Not only professionally, you can hold me personally accountable. I want to be your partner. The Missouri Clean Energy District and our HERO program will provide positive results in the community within 1 month of adoption. And I look forward to creating a more energy efficient community with tangible results. We appreciate your support, and I look forward to being an ongoing resource for you all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We have to, 3 of us have to go over to another committee and make a quorum. I asked that Vice Chairman Tyus sit in my stead, and we'll be back.
Must have been something you said. I'm sorry. You cleared our room like this?
I didn't mean to.
First thing, I want to just take a minute. Can you spell your last name?
Yes, it's M as in Mike, ASLOWSKI.
And you're not related to Todd, that's something?
No.
Okay.
Maslowski, I think it's.
We were separated at birth.
That's right.
Okay. Well, we don't have many people, so we're going to start with questions. So we'll start with Alderman Vollmer.
I know I'm getting old if I'm getting the senior first questions, all right. Okay, John, as far as, the first thing is the timing of this. I believe we're a year into it with, Rockwood, and they have 2 years left there's no emergency clause on this bill. So by the time it would pass out, I believe it's only like a year and a half even left on their exclusive term, which means that this all comes up. So if this goes on and on, by the time we pass this, there might not be an exclusive term still. So are you, and I'm guessing, are you in some of the counties that are not participating with Rockwood right now outside
Yes.
Missouri?
Yeah,
Okay.
there are 85 member communities today.
Okay. And are you attempting to do the same thing in St. Louis County, or is there a bill?
And we're fine with that exclusive relationship with the PACE district. We're not looking to disrupt that. We're looking for the city to also join, similar to other cities and counties across the country, that supplement their own PACE program by joining other districts, providing more PACE options to the community. We don't want to disrupt the exclusivity relationship. They can have that with the PACE district. We're asking the city of St. Louis to also join the Missouri Clean Energy District, which is a separate independent political subdivision of the state of Missouri.
All right, okay. And so in general, I've looked over everything you guys have done. You've been doing a good job everywhere. As far as what we're talking, arguing a point is about a year and a half maybe of you not being able to do this. I'm sure it will come up again, sooner and better sometimes, I believe, for our constituents. But we'll sit and listen. I know we're not voting today, but I appreciate your input and all the time and effort on the things you've sent me. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Alderman.
Are you finished?
Yes.
Alderwoman Ingracia.
Thank you. Good morning. Appreciate your time and the information you provided. Can you get us support letters from the partners that you indicated? I mean, I know I specifically reached out to Corey Elliott with CMT,
Yeah.
but it would be nice to have
Absolutely.
verification, especially on the minority and women-owned businesses.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And can you articulate, I think one of the reasons the current PACE board was explaining that some of this has been delayed is because they were trying to ensure that there were a layer of protections for our residents, which I appreciate that. Can you explain why theirs might be different, or are they different than yours?
Well, PACE Nation is the national standard nonprofit advocacy group for PACE. We've taken direction from PACE Nation. The Federal Department of Energy in November released guidance. Back in July, the FHA, VA, HUD also released guidance. We've taken all this information, best practices, to improve and guide our program, which I can submit our consumer protection policy as well, which actually goes above and beyond the standards released last year.
Excuse me, is this your only copy here?
And I can certainly email an electronic copy as well.
No, yeah, I'll have some made, so.
Okay.
Okay.
But our
I'll be the
consumer.
clerk too.
No, absolutely.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Our consumer safeguards are really the bedrock and foundation for the HERO program. We take them extremely seriously, and we're constantly looking to improve those from input from our government partners. We have over 500 government partners, and we have been successful with all of them for over 5 years. We continue building those relationships, but taking the input from our government partners, from the local trusted contractors that have been registered with our program, and from property owners, as well as the industry people that are still looking at PACE with a skeptical eye. We want to work with them too. We really want to figure out what does the model look like so that PACE can thrive throughout the entire country, and that's what we're trying to solve for.
Okay, and then, I don't mean to put you on the spot here, I was trying to find more information than just the 1 or 2 news articles I found, but Renovate America, there's some issue going on with respect to a default rate percent of like less than 1%, but Renovate America was actually paying off the debts of?
So that was, yeah, great question. Early on in our history, this is back in the early days of PACE when we were trying to figure things out, there were a few homeowners that said, you know, I'm going to miss this payment, and we wanted to help them out. And so there were about 29 homeowners that we stepped in and we helped them pay until they got back on their feet. Subsequently, our capital markets team said, you can't do that.
Okay.
You know, because ultimately it's the global municipal bond market. That's our capital source. That is helping improve our local housing stock. So that is not a practice anymore, but yes,
Okay,
that
so
was
that's
part
not
of the
even
learnings.
recent.
Right, that was part of the learnings, and
Okay.
we've moved forward.
Okay, and then I guess, you know, I've been very impressed with having conversations with you and from what I've read about Renovate America. I think my biggest concern comes from just the board itself with which you're affiliated, and the fact that the only position, it's my understanding, and tell me if I'm wrong, that a St. Louis City resident would have would be an advisory one and not in a decision-making capacity.
So the advisory, and I'll let David and Tom, David Pickrell is the executive director for the Missouri Clean Energy District, and Tom Lowther is their counsel. They can speak that to more than me, but at a high level, generally I can say that every member community, all 85 member communities, appoint an appointee from that member community to the advisory council. The advisory council votes on who the board members of the district are going to be, and that is the governance for the district.
They vote on or recommend?
They vote on, correct?
The way I read it,
The advisory
and I
council.
can wait. I'll hold my questions for the other two gentlemen. But yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Anything else? Alderman Rhodey?
No questions.
So, I just heard Alderman Vollmer talk about that it would probably maybe take you a year or so more to get up and running. Is that
No,
correct?
not our program.
Oh, I just meant the competition level. In other words, if.
Oh, by the time
if
they got
this
the
would pass,
competition, okay.
There's no emergency clause for the
Okay.
mayor to sign this, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, we will generate results in the city within 1 month of adoption.
And so you don't agree that they have an exclusive right to operate in the city?
It sounds like they have an exclusive right with the Set the Pace district, and we have no issue with that. The ordinance itself, the ordinance enabling
It's-
PACE,
it doesn't-
it specifies this is a program, not the only program. And so the city, and if the Set the Pace program wants to have an exclusive relationship, who am I to say anything about that? All I'm trying to bring on, similar to other cities and counties around the country, is to supplement that with more PACE options in the community.
And so one of their concerns was about that they had invested so much money to get this program up and started in the city. Are you piggybacking off of what they've already done?
Absolutely not. We have invested tremendously over the past 6 years across the country and in Missouri specifically, working with legal counsel, working across the state to understand not only the state statute and how we're going to work within the boundaries of the state statute, but every member community that we work inside. They all pass ordinances, and they all don't have to be the same. And so we have invested tremendously in Missouri, in the metro area. We're currently active in 24 cities in St. Louis County, active in St. Charles County, Franklin County, Jefferson County, and we've had the similar discussions with each of them, that we're not asking for exclusivity, we just want to be a PACE option in your community.
And are you also operating in other states?
We are operating in California, Florida, Missouri, and we expect to be operating in 3 more states, the HERO program, by the end of the year.
Okay. And you said you could start you think this will be up and running if it was signed into law in, 30 days?
Within 1 month, yep. And we have a proven track record of that. St. Charles County Council President asked on November 28th, when will you have results? I said within 1 month. December 22nd, we had results.
And also, so what if somebody else comes in a few months and they also want to compete? Would you have
Absolutely.
a problem with that?
I'm fine with the city joining 10 different PACE programs. We are very much about choice. We are very much about how can we advance PACE in the city and throughout the state and throughout the country to make all of our communities more energy efficient.
So if 5 other companies wanted to come in and they all had great programs and make it all
Absolutely.
their
I'm all
money?
for it, and I want to work with them all. How can we work together on the other communities that look at PACE as potentially with a skeptical eye? I want to work with all those PACE programs.
Okay, Alderwoman Boyd, Pam Boyd had to leave, but she wanted, let's see what her questions are. She wanted some more information about you. You said you were, and I know Tony, since he was a kid, your minority women's contractors, do you have a training program, or what is that like? She wants to know more
Yes,
about that.
we have a training program for all of our contractors. We have specific technology that we train them on. We train them on PACE. What is property assessed clean energy? And when people want to look at improving their property with a more energy efficient HVAC unit to help them lower those energy bills, to make their home environment safer, cleaner, breathing cleaner air, our contractors are trained to make sure that they're explaining this financing option correctly to the property owner. They are also trained on the aspects of the products. So PACE is underwritten off of not only the property owner and the property, but also the products themselves. These are only, PACE is single source financing. You can only use it for those products that have been approved from a federal, state, or local energy efficiency standard. And so making sure that they understand that these are the products, and we provide that tool for them to make it efficient for them.
And did you have a minority participation goal or anything in this? Is there? I don't remember.
We have no stated goal. We have prepared some language to amend to the ordinance, putting that, we want to add that, would like to add that to the ordinance. So we do have language that we will be adding as an amendment to that effect.
Okay, and let's see. Another one of her questions was, how do you see how could your program be strengthened? And she wanted to know about how to make it more viable to everyone. Go through your program a little bit, and then I can write down notes for her. So once what do you have to have a credit score for this one?
No, so PACE is more FICO score based.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, more equity based. So you need to have equity in your home.
I remember you guys coming before us.
You need to be a good tax-paying citizen. You need to be current on your property taxes. You need to be current on your mortgage-related debt. You can have any current instance of bankruptcy. So these upfront underwriting criteria have led to that 99% on-time payment rate and greater than a 99.9% payment rate. And so working with those criteria, working with the industry, we're going to just continue improving those.
And did you give us something with the criteria on it?
That in the consumer protections,
That's
that
in there?
outlines the underwriting criteria,
Okay.
yes.
All right, and let's see what else. So she'll need to, don't have to the seniors payment plan, okay. And so they went through an RFP. You wouldn't have to go through an RFP. You would just be chosen based on this ordinance. Is that correct?
Right. The city would voluntarily join the Missouri Clean Energy District, thereby authorizing the Missouri Clean Energy District and the HERO program in the city with that enabling ordinance, of which, if we're not performing, you could rescind that ordinance.
Really? Won't you be signing something with us if we put this ordinance into effect? Won't we then be signing a contract with you?
By you passing the ordinance,
Mm-hmm.
we'll be able to provide the HERO program
So there
in the
wouldn't be no
community.
separate contract?
No, we're not looking to have the contract be with the Set the Pace district, so there'd be no separate contract.
And so would you be working with them at all?
I would love to collaborate with them, and that's why I've initiated conversations with EEF, Byron DeLear, and with Y-Green to say, how can we work together to advance PACE in Missouri? And I'd love to do the same with the Rockwood Group if they'd be willing to do so.
Okay, that was her questions. The chair's back, so I'm going to get out of his. Okay. He wants to know about where is the Rockwood plan?
I don't know.
You don't know? What is that?
The Rockwood Group?
Uh-huh. Oh. Okay. I think he thought you thought there was another plan.
Oh, no.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Rockwood Group is, I believe, a subcontractor to EEF, to Energy Equity Funding, the city's PACE administrator.
Anyone else have any questions? Alderman Bosley?
Not at this time.
Alderman Moore? Chairman Moore?
You said you would be willing to add the minority quota in the ordinance?
We prepared some language saying that we want to work with the MBE WB office to help us enhance the outreach to minority and women-owned contractors. We want to bring on as many minority and women-owned contractor partners as possible so that this is another PACE financing option that they can provide in the community. I think this is the language that would be added.
So is this the minority quota in this, Dave? This is an amendment?
I'm not putting this before you today since you're not having a vote, but I just wanted to let you know we've prepared that, and we'll insert it, and we can do it as a committee sub at a later date, Alderman. Or we can tweak it. I wanted to get before the committee, and if anybody had suggestions, we'll obviously tweak it. It's per, I mean, we had spoken about this a couple weeks ago with you and per your request.
It's kind of bland. It says work with, could we get a percentage here? Is a,
We'd be happy to talk about that, absolutely.
okay.
Abs-
We
absolutely.
won't make any motion to adopt this right now. We'll work with you on
Yeah,
it.
let's work on it. Let's get it so everybody gets what they want.
Okay. Go ahead, Chairman.
Alderwoman Ingrassi, you have another question?
Right, and this might be for Mr. Sweeney. Just from a legal standpoint, I'm curious if, can the city require an outside for-profit entity to adhere to our minority and women-owned business goals?
Well, I mean, we're before you, so yeah, you can kind of make that. I mean, we have goals now. I mean, are they really required? You know, that's probably why Alderwoman Tynes is.
Right, so it's a goal but not a requirement.
Absolutely.
Okay, there you go.
And I'd like to see what the other folks have. I think whatever they have is fair. We should do the same.
Okay.
But, I mean, we're willing to, we're here to work together and just give opportunities. I mean,
Okay.
we've got a
Thank you.
you're welcome.
What I told her, so just that there were goals for a reason, because the city has never properly passed a minority bill that would stand the test of law, okay? And I've been here from 91, and we've never done the proper work. So that's why we have all these goals that are really worth toilet paper, okay? All right. All right, I'm sorry. Come on.
No, and I would love, similar to what we've done in other communities, working with you, working with Chairman Moore on who are the local trusted contractors in your ward. Who should I be reaching out to? There are organizations and trade groups, but we would love to get to know the people in your ward so that they're helping others in the ward make their homes more energy efficient.
So I never tell people what contractors, that's why we have MOCAN, that's why we have other organizations. I don't try to push, that one might be construed as
Yeah, that's fair.
trying to do something illegal, so I don't do that. I can give, if you ask me names of people I know, I can do it.
We'd
but
love to work
if
with the
they're trusted or
MBWB
not,
office.
it's up to you.
Absolutely. We'd love to work with the MBWB office of the city and really have them help us enhance that. Absolutely. Thank
Right.
you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions of this person? All right,
Thank you very much.
so we're going to Brad Ketcher. Brad Ketcher,
Thank you.
and you're the Rockwood Group,
I am,
right?
right. I'm Brad Ketcher. I'm an attorney for Rockwood. And there was a letter distributed, I think it was distributed earlier. I'll go ahead and provide some other copies of that to the chair and the board, to the committee members. And what I wanted to talk about, and I don't want to belabor other points that have been made, is just some legal issues around what the Missouri Clean Energy District is asking you all to do and what Renovate is
I read
asking you to
this
do.
already.
I think, as much as anything, what I would encourage you to focus on is this is, what you're being asked to do is to join a Jefferson City-created district. This district, this Missouri Clean Energy District, was created by the city of Jefferson, out in the middle of the state. It has been dominated by out-state board members. I've actually looked at their board minutes, and one thing that they have actively tried to do, and I'll just quote from it, is to essentially reduce metropolitan domination of their board. So they've sort of taken an active position that, hey, we're an outstate Jefferson City entity. We need to be very cautious about, as we add members, about letting these metropolitan folks dominate our board. That's sort of the code word they're using. I'll quote directly from their board minutes. A potential problem, they note a potential problem if enough municipalities from metropolitan areas come to dominate board membership. They then, in their minutes, they then discuss several strategies to revise their procedures accordingly with a consensus that we need to make any changes soon. So, you know, like a lot of things in Jeff City, you know, they're not so focused on the urban areas, they're more focused on outstate interests, and that's really what's dominated their board, and I'd encourage you all to be sensitive to that. Right now, you have a board in St. Louis that is with the Set the Pace St. Louis program that is appointed by the mayor, city residents, approved by the Board of Aldermen, with staff oversight by SLDC. You know who to call, you know who to talk to. With this one, it is a Jefferson City-based board dominated by out-of-state folks who don't seem to care a lot about urban issues, at least in their board minutes. Some other legal issues I would point to is that in this model ordinance they've put in front of you, they seem to hold out the promise that there's no liability for the city if you go down this path. And I think one thing, and that's, you know, it's a nice attempt, but I think the reality that folks ought to be sensitive to is that in Missouri, in any state, liability issues are set by state law, both on contract liability, tort liability. Those are set by state law, by the legislature, and by judges. And to try to sort of just unilaterally say, hey, there's no liability for the city on this stuff is making a promise that I don't think anybody can keep. And I'd encourage you not to rely on that as you're thinking about, okay, well, this is, you know, we should just go ahead and get in this district. There's no downside risk here. We also think it is, you know, legally questionable the way their district is put together, where they've got a district, but then as anybody passes an ordinance, suddenly this district gets bigger and expands and changes. The way we read the state PACE ordinance, it says that municipalities can get together to create a district, but it doesn't talk about them expanding the district when just one member passes a new ordinance. And so it's very amorphous. It sort of comes and goes. We think that's got some serious legal issues. And when you're talking about doing these assessments and putting liens on property and doing that for maybe 20 years, that's sort of a high-risk thing to have a political subdivision that may not be quite as firm as they hold itself out to be. We've talked about minority participation, and perhaps they're doing some things on that. Under our contract, we're governed by the mayor's executive order on minority participation and women-owned business participation. That is pushed down through all the subcontracts to all the vendors in our operation. That's something that SLDC and the board, your city board required, and so that's something that's just part of our contractual obligations. We talked earlier about circumventing the competitive bid process. They took a stab at the competitive bid process with the city board and they failed. And now they're back here doing, you know, asking you all to circumvent that through board action. You know, not getting too much to the legal side, but just looking again at the big picture public policy issues there, that if a city globally goes through competitive bid process for commodities and services and then gets into the practice of circumventing that through board action, I really do think that could undermine your ability to get good competitive bids on a range of issues. And I'd encourage you to think long and hard before you go down that path. Some other things to keep in mind, the Show Me Pace program is a zero-cost program to the city. My understanding is they're holding themselves out as a zero-cost program. But in their bylaws, they have pre-authorized essentially a tax on their members to cover any shortfalls that might come up in the program. And so I'd encourage you to think, you know, right now our contract prevents that. Their bylaws allow them to impose a tax on members like the city of St. Louis. And I think you don't know how that tax will be structured. Maybe they'll, you know, they may have lots of members, but if they think the population is here and that this is where the bulk of the tax ought to be imposed, then you all may end up paying for a bulk of their program. And I think it's worth exploring that more fully. There are also, we think, some compliance issues with how they're operating. Every political subdivision in the state that has essentially tax assessment authority, which is what a PACE district essentially does, it puts tax assessments on property, has an obligation to register with the state auditor and to file annual reports of its financial transactions. The auditor's office actually has if you go to their website, you'll see all these districts that are registered. And there's a special place for PACE districts to register. And these folks are not registered. And we think that puts them at a high risk for a state audit and a high risk for negative audit findings. And that, I don't know what that could mean for the city, but it probably is a bad thing for the city and certainly a bad thing for that district. And so those are some legal issues and some compliance issues that we'd encourage you all to take a look at as you're weighing this ordinance. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Alderman Rhodey, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Alderman Vollmer, do you have any questions?
Just, as far as a comment more than anything else is in regard to our public policy and RFPs, and I guess it's always our first, the citizens come first in all our decisions. So if there's anything we can do better for the citizens, I think that's the first thing we should always be thinking of. And I think that people will always want to be getting in the bid process, no matter what they might think of this particular thing. As far as us looking down the road and being scared of people not wanting to, deal with the city, I didn't appreciate that. But it's citizens first when you're an elected official, and that's who we think of first. If we can do anything better for them, that's our job. Thank you, sir.
Chairman Moore,
No questions.
Alderwoman Ingracia.
Good morning. I'm assuming if I go to the state auditor's site under the PACE registrations, I will find the local.
Right,
PACE
you
board.
will find the St. Louis City program registered.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Bosley.
No questions.
So the question I have, what do you see as the real harm to your organization? I know you put a lot of money in capital startup, but in a city this large, what is the actual harm if we have more than one company
Well,
doing
I think
pretty much the same
I
thing?
think it really goes to oversight. With your locally created, locally staffed, local member board, they can provide oversight to direct oversight to consumer protection issues, to making sure that the program is operating smoothly and efficiently, working on the commercial side as well. You have direct control. Okay? You have direct control over that. You know who to call. You pick up the phone and call them, and they're right, and they'll be running over to your office. With this program, you are buying into a board essentially down in Jefferson City that based on its history, doesn't like municipal domination. And, I think it's really about oversight. Are you going to have control over the policies, procedures, consumer protections, or you're going to have to call somebody in the 573 area code who may or may not return your call?
Oh, they would return our calls, because that's when you'd start an ordinance that you revoked a prior ordinance, so that would get a return call.
Fair enough, fair enough.
So, again, though, you can't service everybody in this entire city, okay? Let's just say these programs, and you get it up and running, okay, and we got a lot of people that want to do this. So I am still trying to understand. Wait, let me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just like that when I'm on the other end, okay? I want to answer and I want to put so I understand. My husband always tells me I am not on the witness stand. I don't have to answer, okay? But so you get it started.
Right.
It's ongoing. And you have a lot of people want to do this. What would be, I'm not talking, I heard you say about all the consumer and problems and things, because if that happens, then we can address it. Right. What would be the harm in having 2 or 3
Well, here's some other
what would be your personal harm is what I'm trying to
Here's
understand.
what I would point to. I think you got to keep in mind with this PACE program, you're essentially, lending out the taxing authority of the city to these folks, right?
Okay.
You're saying you now have the authority to put a tax lien on my citizen's property.
To be collected by the
collector.
Right.
And if you fail to pay that, the collector will sue you and go sell your property and recover those funds. And that is the most powerful, in many ways, the most powerful function of government. And so to sort of assign that away willy-nilly without the ability to have direct oversight, I think it is troubling. It's troubling. So that would be my point to you.
That's one of your best points to me you should have made very early, okay? That is exactly, I wasn't going to say it exactly the point that it was made at my house, okay?
Sure.
And with some other people that I discussed this with. So your problem is that if they're not doing a good job, they will put a lien on people's houses that we will have to collect, and we will have problems making sure that we have good service for our citizens, and citizens could ultimately, if they don't pay their property tax, lose their property.
Yeah. And that's why I think, on this as much as anything, local control really can matter, and you need to know what's going on. It's a great program. I don't disagree with anything that he said, but it uses powerful tools that need to be carefully supervised.
Okay. Any further questions? All right,
Thank
thank you. David Pickrell? Close enough. Well, say it for me when you get up here. Okay, thank you.
Yes, my name's David Pickrell. I'm the Executive Director of the Missouri Clean Energy District. And just very briefly, a little background on me. My prior career was municipal finance. I was a municipal bond underwriter and financial consultant for Mercantile Trust Company, if any of you remember that institution. I was a longtime board member and past president of TrailNet, and I'm currently director of the Missouri Environmental Fund and MERS Goodwill. So I come to this whole PACE thing based on my interest in environmental matters and my background with municipal finance and my continuing interest in that subject. When PACE was first being discussed in Missouri, my colleague, John Harris, who could not be with us today, and I started looking at this, and he too has a background in municipal finance. We recognize that very few cities in the state of Missouri have the resources to be able to form their own clean energy development board. There is a lot of work that's involved, a lot of legal work, which, by the way, since he brought it up, Mr. Ketcher was reading from minutes of our meetings. The single biggest expense we've had was complying with a Freedom of Information request from him, asking for every single document that the district has had since its inception, along with every email and any notes or text messages. It takes a lot of time, a lot of money to have an attorney go through all that stuff and comply. So at least we know he read two documents. And he misread them too, by the way. But nonetheless, we recognized that we needed to have a program that that cities could join in, so they don't have to create their own program. And it is true, as he pointed out, that Jefferson City was the originator of the Clean Energy Development Board. They wrote their ordinance in such a way, with the intention that it would not be an instrumentality of Jefferson City, that it would be self-sustaining, and that's done through the election of board members. The process we use is one where each member municipality is entitled to appoint a member, or not a citizen, to the advisory council of the Missouri Clean Energy District. They act as a liaison between the district and the municipality, but they also have a key role in electing new board members as terms expire or people quit. We solicit nominations from every member municipality, probably on an average 6 to 8 municipalities actually respond with a nominee, and then we have a nominating committee composed of 1 board member and 4 members of the advisory council. They narrow it down to 2 or 3, based primarily on providing geographic diversity as well as talent diversity. We want to see that that we don't get all lawyers on our board or all accountants.
I don't see a problem with having all lawyers.
Whatever. So, the idea is to keep 5 people who have expertise in some aspect of what the district is all about. We submit those names to the electors. They cast their vote, and that's how we elect board members. It is not a Jefferson City-run organization by any means. The first draft of the joining ordinance we had referenced Jefferson City, but Kansas City, when they saw it, they objected to that, and we recognized that it probably was not necessary to keep that in. I think my pitch today is you should join us because Rockwood Todd talked about what their program will be. Right now, we're doing it all around you and across the state. We're ready, as John Maslowski said, we can get a program running here in a matter of a month. And really, that month delay is primarily in getting contractors trained up. If your air conditioner goes out, you don't want to wait 3 or 4 weeks while you apply for a credit card or a home equity line or something like that. You want an answer right away. The system that we have, the contractor who's been properly trained can go in, help the homeowner fill out the application, and get an answer as to whether or not they qualify for the PACE funding pretty much on the spot. So that's our program. We also do want to mention, we do commercial, we've done municipal projects, and we've done not-for-profit. We're starting to get some inquiries from churches about solar. We did a Masonic temple in Kansas City for solar. We did a wastewater treatment plant for a small town in outstate Missouri. So it's been a wide variety of things that we do, and we would be very excited to have the city of St. Louis become a member of the district. And one final thought too, in the PACE statute as well as in our specimen ordinance, it makes it clear that that all local regulations apply. So if you have, for instance, limitations on where solar can be installed, we obey all those rules. So thank you. Answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Rhodey, do you have any questions?
Maybe just a comment. I'm going to have to leave in a couple minutes. I just, my only reservation is just the regulation aspect of this, and I was kind of hoping that someone from SLDC or Otis might be here. Oh, is he?
Yes. Do you want him to come to the podium?
I believe he is the...
Otis, would you step forward?
You're on the board, aren't you, of the other one, Otis? Are you the chairman of our PACE board?
Will you step forward to the podium, please?
I just know that the mortgage industry is extremely regulated, and evidently this industry has not received national regulation yet, and there are some concerns about that. And what is your position on it, or SLDC's position? I mean, I'm in favor of competition. It's just that.
Yes, that was one of the reasons. We had some concerns, and it was one of the reasons why we were cautious and in the deployment of and signing the contract actually with the group that we did, because of all of the activity that was going on. And so one of our concerns was to make sure that we had done what I call the due diligence correctly. And so there was some delay as we had attorneys looking at various things. And so, and I know that we have deployed on the commercial side for a long time now. So we've done 14 projects on the commercial side. Somebody asked that question earlier. So we did, and we currently have 2 that are in the process of closing, 2 more that are closing that are over $9 million, but we also have 3 others that are in the pipeline. Oh, that's on the commercial side. We have had a delay in the residential side because of some of the concerns that have been expressed. But as noted, there will be a deployment of that residential component next week. And this is following the due diligence that has been undertaken by the various groups.
My fear is that we turn something loose like this, we end up with like the mortgage crisis, and we got the city of St. Louis foreclosing based on tax bills that we're sending out, and I think that would be, an absolute nightmare for us. I guess, if we opened up, do you anticipate at some point offering a second company the opportunity to join or compete in St. Louis, or?
Well, not at this time, we had not, but I was interested in the comments about working with others. But where we are, and as indicated, we did sign a 3-year contract with Energy. Actually, I guess it's with all 3 of the entities that make up the administrator group. And so we were committed to that, but
How far are we into that 3-year contract?
I actually signed the contract 1 July last year, 2016.
So we're 2 years away from, we have, well, a little over 2 years then, I guess, right?
Correct.
About 26 months. Do we have any performance requirements or anything in that contract?
Actually, I think it was forwarded to you. I think you should have it, but we can provide you
You
a
want me to
copy
send
of
it to you?
a copy of the contract. There are some, details that are there. I don't have it in front of me, but.
I'll send it to the committee.
Right.
You have further questions, Alderman Rhodes?
No, it's just kind of a confusing situation to be in. Thank you.
Alderman Vollmer? Stay here because there's a question for you later.
Okay. Otis, you're fine, that's no questions, but it's, so what you're stating, Mr. Pickerel, is that, this is not a Jefferson City-controlled board, is what your statement is. Whereas, is there a main office? Where do you guys operate at? What do we do? Where are we from? What are we doing here?
Yes, the office right now is in Baldwin, Missouri.
Okay.
It's my office.
Okay.
So,
And this office does work in all the 3 states currently, Florida, California, and Missouri?
I'm sorry?
You're, from that office, you control Florida, California, your other?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
That's
it's
what I'm wondering.
Missouri
That's-
Clean
okay,
Energy
okay,
District. It's
all right.
not the U.S. Clean Energy District.
Okay, all right, this one.
That's enough of a job, just doing one
Okay.
state.
Just trying to-
I approve I see every application that comes through. I review it and sign it, so
Okay.
I don't need to be doing that all across the country.
All right, that's fine. I just want to get a
Right.
perspective on where it was. All right, thank you. No further questions.
Alderwoman Ingracia?
Thank you. I have a couple quick questions. You indicated that Mr. Ketcher misrepresented the meeting minutes that he discussed with respect to your board being worried about urban areas having dominance in the board, on your board. How did he misrepresent that?
No, I didn't mean to say he misrepresented the minutes. I think he was actually reading from that, although I couldn't see or wasn't paying that much attention. But he cast aspersions on the legality of the formation of the district. We've had many attorneys looking at this, at one stage or another, because again, the board was formed in April of 2011, and initially the work was done by the Solar Partnership, and as you know, that partnership dissolved. Our current counsel is Tom Lothar, who's here. He's from Armstrong Teasdale. We have bond counsel. They have had to look through this because we've issued bonds.
Okay, I appreciate it. I guess what I'm trying to ask you is what you believed the potential problems were with having urban areas be represented on your board, and then what you did to quickly make changes to ensure that didn't happen.
Well, that's not the case. One of the directors is from Kansas City.
Currently, yeah, I'm looking directly at the minutes, and so I'm assuming if they were approved, that they're correct. What you believed a board that was potentially dominated by metropolitan areas, what problem that would present?
This is strictly my concern, and the board paid attention to me, that I didn't want to see the board being run by St. Louis and Kansas City. My background's municipal finance. I've done a lot of work with smaller communities. One of the projects we did was for a town that has a population of 254 people. Now, I don't want the board represented by only people from small communities like that. The idea is geographic diversity, professional diversity, and it's not specific, but if we have representatives from areas of different populations, so, you know, as I say.
Is that contained in your bylaws?
I'm sorry?
Are those items that you just enumerated included in your bylaws?
There's
I
one
couldn't find
sentence,
anything on
there's
your
one
website.
sentence in there that talks about what the role of the nominating committee, you're reviewing the nominees for, I think it says geographic diversity
Okay.
and professional.
And the nominating committee is advisory, correct?
It's 5 members, yes.
No, it serves as a way to advise the members who are actually making decisions, and not as a function that's requiring a final, like, you have to accept whatever their opinion or advisement is.
Now, the nominating committee goes through, the members who respond present a list of, or present a nominee and why they think that person would be good. The nominating committee gets all those, and they meet by conference call rather than in
I
person.
don't need to know every single, I want to know whether or not you, as the board, have to accept the nominations that they're suggesting to you.
I would think so. It's in the bylaws.
Okay, can I get a copy of the bylaws?
Yeah.
Okay,
There.
that would be great. And
I think, yeah, you can get, if it's not a
that's great.
problem.
They're not available on your website. So just really quickly, and then I'll be finished. Tom Sadowski on your board?
Yes.
Where does he live?
He is in Jefferson City.
Okay, Dennis Nicholson?
He's also in Jefferson City.
Martha Harris?
And she is too. They were the original.
Damari Benton is from Kansas City?
Kansas City, and
And then
Caleb
Caleb.
Arthur is from Springfield.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Oh, just a minute, we still have other.
Okay.
Chairman Moore.
I have a comment to make. You know, this committee is almost confused with all of the different rules and regulations, and I would recommend that Hero, Green, Rockwood, Otis Williams, or whoever else sit down and come together and put together a policy that's good for the people. The reason why we're not voting on it today is because it's absolutely confusing, and then we're talking about bringing in other programs or other things to read that we don't have here before us, and that makes it confusing, and it's all about the people. And
Right.
I would recommend that we go back and put together a policy with the 3 groups, fussing and fighting and doing whatever you do, like we have to do at the Board of Aldermen, and come up with a good ordinance that the people can sink their teeth into and have a clear understanding of what this is all about, because this is borderline confusing, and I have to do like Sessions, the Attorney General. I have to recluse myself. That's why I have my Deputy Attorney General here to conduct this meeting. But we need to come together and present something that the people can feel good about and that is going to protect the citizens of this city. A good program, and we have the components here, but we just need to come together, put the minority quotas in, whatever else, and I don't want another monopoly like Laclede Gas and Ameren UE. We want to be able to have a choice of what we do and a good bill that would work, good policy that would work for the citizens of this city.
I might mention, my colleague and I, back in 2010 and 11, we're working with Byron DeLear and Tom Applebaum, who are the principals of energy equity funding. They end up going a separate way, but we work together and we're friendly, still are friendly.
Yeah, I'm speaking of, you're with the Hero, right?
Right.
So I'm speaking of the Rockwood and the other group, the Green group. The 3 of you get together because you're the 3 major components right now to come together and put this thing together in the right manner and bring it before this committee again, so that way we can vote on it and get it out of the way, because we need clean energy.
Okay. Well, the interesting thing will be whether or not Rockwood will do that, given that they have a
Rockwood.
2-year 2 years.
To work with the other two groups? Because what's gonna happen is you keep bringing it back to this committee, and it's gonna be the same thing. We won't vote on it until we have something we can actually present to the people. So we're asking that everybody come together and willing to work together, so that way it won't seem like it's a monopoly, but work with the other two groups. I don't see, they're so far away from you that you can't work with them. Are you willing to do that? They're willing to work with you. So, Madam Chairperson, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Are you finished?
Yeah.
No further questions? Alderman Bosley?
No questions?
Alderman Vaccaro, you had some questions?
I do, actually, Otis, if you would. As I'm sitting here and I'm listening. Talking to me, right? Yes. As I'm sitting here and I'm listening, one of the points that is brought up is that, gee, people could lose their homes under this program. Isn't that the same under the program that exists now, or can they choose not to pay that?
No, I think it's a standard program. I think the
Right.
point that he was making was that under our board, that we are here local and that we are,
But you're
Yeah.
still, if somebody doesn't pay, they lose their house.
yes, but
Okay,
also
I
the
mean,
fact that
that's what I wanted to know. The other question is, the people that are here are not even the original people that got the contract. This is the subcontractors that are here.
No. So let me give a little
So who's
history.
here from the,
So let me,
from the original group that actually got the contract?
so
Is
these are people who are representing people who actually got the contract. So let me explain that we started off with EEF.
Right.
Then subsequently, we then went for an RFP. The RFP came in with 3 groups that comprised the new administrative team, and that included EEF, Rockwood, as well as Y-Green. Y-Green focused more on the residential component. EEF was already working the commercial component, Rockwood providing the financial aspect of it. And so the team that is represented here is actually the team that we agreed to.
But they're like subcontractors of the original contractor.
Well, they are an element of the team, yes.
They're subcontractors of the original contractor.
Well,
If I have a contract and I subcontract these guys.
essentially, yes.
Okay, I wanted to set the record straight on both those things,
Right.
because it seemed that, and out of fairness, I really have been staying sort of out of it, because I was letting both sides present their thing, but then I started sitting back thinking, well, wait a minute, they're saying, gee, you could lose your house, but if you don't make the payments, under all these things, you could lose your house.
But I think and the point that I think he was trying to make also is that part of the due diligence that we were going through was to try and make sure that we had all of these rules that were problematic in other communities, California and Florida, that we had worked through many of those issues, and that we would not have those issues that would confront us. But if they did, that we would be a local entity that would be responsible.
But you would still lose your house.
But
There was the old joke, what
at
happens
the
if
end
you
of the day, yes, if there was a problem, then yes, you would.
lose your house?
Yes. And-
It's the old joke, if you don't pay your exorcist, you get repossessed. So, I just wanted to be clear that under both programs,
It must be.
if you don't make payments, there's nothing, no provision that would let you opt out. You don't make your payments. My other question, if you don't make your payment, does that supersede not making your tax payments, or does it take the 4 years before you could lose your house, or is this more instant?
Well, I think again, we are working with the collector, and so I think it would be that whatever rules the collector currently implements. So I would hesitate to tell you the time frame that would occur.
If you could find that out,
Well,
and
I
let me
mean,
know, I'd
generally,
appreciate it.
it's all over the place, because the collector and the sheriff can implement the rule within
Well,
a year,
no,
but they also then can do
it's-
it in 3 years. And so the practice has been 3 years,
Right.
and then it goes goes to the sheriff
So
in the 4th year.
the question is, can you do it faster? Like they haven't paid in a year, can you
Well, I think
They
you're
haven't
talking, I
paid
think
in
you're talking a
half a
separate, separate piece, which is if it's delinquent, can they do something to get the collection? And I think both have indicated that they will be working to get that done. And for us, because we have, the local chartered CEDB by this board went through the due diligence in the RFP, we felt very comfortable with these folks.
And I just wanted to make it clear that either way, with either company, you have to make your payments.
I agree.
Have any further questions, Alderman? No, that was it. Okay. Mr. Pickrell, thank you. Where are you from
Well, how far back do you want to go?
right now? Where
Right
do you
now.
live now?
Oh, I live in Ellisville.
Ellisville, okay. It was interesting because you told us that you made it clear to us that you didn't want a board full of Kansas City and St. Louis people. That's always interesting. I'm from a small town in Illinois. That sounds like something we would have said, okay?
Well, I'm originally from Illinois, a small town in Illinois, too.
Mine is Decatur. What is yours?
It's called Newton, Illinois.
Ooh, where is that?
Yeah, it's straight east of here, about two-thirds of the way to Indiana on, it's on.
Near
it's-
Springfield?
It's near Effingham.
Effingham, okay. So I know where that is now, okay.
Okay.
I knew that sounded very small town, okay?
It is, I guarantee you.
Okay, and the other thing, you said, you made a comment that few cities can afford to form their own boards. So this, but we already have a board here, is
Right.
that correct?
Yeah, you did, and I believe, if I recall correctly, there was a $90,000 CEDB grant that was used for the initial start. I attended a meeting that Catherine Werner held prior to releasing an RFP for scoping out a program. You're not actually administering one, but for determining the viability of one. And at the time, I recall that there was a $90,000 CEDB grant. But, you know, if you take even a town of, say, 20,000 people, you know, do they have that money lying around that they can spend on this, not knowing how much benefit it would bring to their citizens, in a sense that it would be great if everybody that lived there took advantage of it, but if only 5 property owners did, then, you know, was that public money well spent?
So you envision your board as a statewide kind of board representing many areas of the state? Is that
Right. The whole thing was, our whole concept is, we've done all the groundwork, we've invested our own money to get this thing up and ready, so that any municipality can join without, you know, having to spend any money.
Well, I think one of the concerns that may not have been enunciated is that, so you have someone from Kansas City, but you don't have anybody from St. Louis on your board.
No, because you're not a member. You have to be a
Okay,
member.
all right, but you would anticipate that if we became a member, that we would have a St. Louis board? Member from the St. Louis?
If you submit a nominee, that nominee would be referred to the nominating committee. The nominating committee would determine, among other things, the geographic diversity. That would be very strong. You know, as you pointed out earlier, that right now we still have 3 members from the Jefferson City area. You know, we do not expect that there will be any members from Jefferson City area a few years down the road. We have, for instance, some Mississippi County and Stoddard County are members. We need representation down in that area. We don't have any up here. We have communities up here, but so far none of them have submitted any nominees.
And why would the members from Jefferson City come off? Because,
They came out. The original board was appointed by the mayor of Jefferson City,
Okay.
and with approval of the city council.
okay. And are you still doing business in Jefferson City, though?
Are we still going to?
Are you doing business in Jefferson City?
So right now, I don't recall seeing any projects from there. They're eligible because they're a member, but I don't think we probably haven't trained up any contractors down there. The problem with training a contractor in Jefferson City is, right now, we don't have, like Columbia has not yet joined. I think they're supposed to do that later this month or maybe in June. But contractors, you'll want, if they're going to go to the trouble of training for it, they want to have more than just one town that they can go to. They want to,
I understand, when you get to Middle America, I grew up in Middle Illinois, so when you're in the smaller, you don't have the resources and you don't have the people, and so sometimes you combine, like maybe Springfield and Decatur and Champaign might do it all together versus Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Is that the idea?
Yeah. Well, I would say, if you had all of Macon County.
Right.
And maybe one other county near adjacent, that would do.
Right, okay, I understand that. And we're talking Illinois now, so we got to get back to Missouri. Okay.
No more code talk.
All right. There's one other question. Oh, Alderwoman Ingrassi had asked about your, what did you ask for?
Bylaws.
Bylaws. Are they filed with the Secretary of State? Do you know that? Because I told her she might be.
No, they're not.
So is there someone that's with you that could send us an email with the bylaws?
I can do that. All I need are email addresses, and I
Okay,
can
well,
get it
before you
done.
leave here, then I'll provide you with mine, and then I'll forward it to everybody else.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay. Any more questions?
No, no questions.
I'm sorry, when you brought up Columbia, it reminded me that I read something. You said that they're going to be part of your group whenever, but on May 1st, at their city council meeting, they deferred because they had some concerns, correct? They deferred on voting for it forward? Looks like John might have an answer.
John's more in tune with, he's been working with them.
Yeah, come on up.
The city of Columbia.
Yeah.
Mayor Treese and the city council members are extremely supportive. They were intending on voting that evening. Boone County Commissioner Janet Thompson asked to table it until June 19th because they wanted more discussion with the Boone County collector, because the Boone County collector is ultimately going to be the individual collecting these PACE assessments. I've been talking with the Boone County collector for over a year, and we're trying to get them comfort that we're going to provide the data points they need in the format they need on the day they need it. And so that's what we're working towards by June 19th.
June 19th is their next meeting.
June 19th, yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
Here's my other question. How long have you been in business?
The district started, was officially formed April 11th, I believe, of 2011.
And since that time, have you ever had to take any property?
Have we taken any profit?
Yes.
Yes.
Any property?
Oh,
So-
no.
Okay, thank you.
No, hopefully our systems are such that would be a very rare and unusual event.
If I could, maybe, John, what is the average loan that is given, for residential properties? What is the average dollar
I'm
amount?
saying-
Don't answer from there. If you're going to answer, come up here, please.
Get your exercise, John.
Out of the 475 homes, the average assessment amount is between $9,000 and $10,000.
Okay, thank you very much.
I could add the range. It goes from about $3,000 up to, had one for $58,000 some, I don't remember exact. Yeah, I only deal in around thousands.
No further questions.
Any further questions? Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Go Illinois, go Illinois. Okay. All right, we have Latania, Latania.
L-O-W-T-H-E-R.
This is L-O-W?
L-O-W-T-H-E-R.
Does that look like L-O-W there?
He's a doctor.
What's your last name?
What's your last name, sir?
Lowther,
No,
L-O-W-T-H-E-R.
this is somebody else. Somebody else has signed up. There's no Latania here? L-A-T-A-N-N-I-A? Last name K-E-N-N-E-R? Okay. All righty. Next one is Thomas Louder. Sorry. You're pro, right?
All right. I am pro.
Okay.
I am an attorney. I am currently with Armstrong Teasdale. I was originally for over 50 years with the Stoller Partnership. And as you heard David, he and John Harris came into our office late probably 2010, maybe early 2011. PACE was a relatively new statute, and they were interested in forming a PACE board. We looked at the statute, and they had no money, and we had no experience, and our law firm took a look at it and said, this is a great thing. And I'll tell you why we came to believe that. From the point of view of the society, energy efficiency is good. We knew that. From the point of view of a homeowner, potential borrower, this is a great deal. First of all, requires no down payment. That's a big thing for a lot of homeowners. Secondly, in order to provide credit, the loan is repayable in the same fashion as general real estate taxes. It's done by way of a special assessment, so that elevates it to the point of view where the credit standing is very good. From the point of view of the legal organization, the municipality, Jefferson City, for example, that is a member of the district, has no liability whatsoever. The statute says the liability is limited to the homeowner, and the enforcement is the same way that taxes are enforced. So if the city of St. Louis becomes a member of the district, it is not liable for any of the debt that is created. The district really has two functions. It's to borrow money and to lend it for a specific purpose. So we got to understand that, and this looked like something that would be really great. Now, we had to organize the district. Where would you do that? We picked Jefferson City because it's the state capital, and because the statute says one or more municipalities can form these districts. We thought if you're going to do something that's going to benefit the whole state, being organized in the same city as the state capital adds some credibility. So the ordinance that was adopted by the city of Jefferson City, I had a hand in drafting. And with full expectation that it would be adopted by many, many jurisdictions throughout the state. And the logic is very simple. If I were a homeowner in a small town in rural Missouri, and I wanted to put in a new roof and maybe some solar and HVAC, all energy efficient, and take advantage of the PACE program, and if I were the only one in a town of 500, it's not going to happen, because the issuer of the debt, or the lender, has to report annually throughout the life of the loan. That's an administrative burden that a lot of small jurisdictions probably would not do. The PACE district that we represent as a legal entity has the ability to do that. It has the staff, in this case David, and if the volume grows, it can add the staff, and it can provide these services throughout the entire state. Now, you heard one of the gentlemen here mention that you'd have liability because of the issuance of the debt. Statutorily, that cannot happen. You also heard him say that the district is not registered with the auditor. Well, the district is not edited with the, registered with the auditor because it does not operate a municipal court system, nor does it issue general obligation debt. The debt that arises out of the PACE contract is a self-assessed debt, and the assessment, which becomes a tax liability, is not created by the district. It's voluntary on the part of the homeowner who signs a contract that says to the assessor, I want to pay this by way of a tax over a period of time. The district cannot create a tax liability. It cannot create a lien. It is really a go-between between people who are willing to borrow money and do energy efficiency improvements to their home, and the people who have money that are willing to lend. And I think it's important to remember that. And I have no, the district has no really responsibility for providing contractors or workers or so on. As a matter of convenience, we found that it's necessary to make arrangements because this is a relatively new program, and we need people who can provide services that can guarantee the results. The statute says that the amount of the loan cannot exceed the amount of the energy saving anticipated over the time of the debt. So we need people that understand what they're doing and that can document the anticipated energy savings in order to support the loan. Beyond that, there's no registration required under the Missouri statutes with the Secretary of State. It's not a corporation. Under the statute, this is a political subdivision of the state of Missouri, and if the city of St. Louis chooses to become part of it, it will be subject to the bylaws and so on. But the rest of the statute is clear. There will be no liability on the part of the city. And I hope that helps explain that this is not a builder. It's an organization that provides the fundraising capacity so that lenders can provide money to homeowners. Our commerce, commercial organizations, political subdivisions. We have done a sewer district in outstate Missouri that I was familiar with, similar type projects, but that is essentially the legal structure.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Alderman Vollmer.
No questions, thank you, Madam Chair.
Alderman Moore? Alderwoman Ingrassia? Alderman Bosley?
Questions?
Thank you very much, appreciate
My
it.
pleasure.
Yes. Cheryl Walker. I know who that is.
Good afternoon. It's afternoon now.
Did you bring lunch?
All right. Greetings to you all, and thank you for your patience, and I will be brief. Just want to highlight a couple of things. I'm new to representing Renovate America. Linda Martinez, who is now working here, represented them previously, and we transitioned to me, and it's been a great experience. I live in the 19th ward in the city and am very vested in what happens here, and John might remember when we first met, when Linda made the introduction, I had lots lots of questions that were similar to the ones that you've asked in terms of contractor participation and elders and things of that nature, so I certainly appreciate that. One of the couple of things I want to highlight is their activity in other parts of the state and in close communities around St. Louis City. So even though they are not operating in St. Louis County yet or the city of St. Louis yet, my understanding is that some of the near north counties that they have operations already and have projects that are underway, and since September, I believe, I'm looking at John to confirm. The other thing I'd like to add is that, there's no attempt, as you've heard them say, to dismantle the current system, but that this would be additive to it. One thing I'd like to point out, there's been a lot said about the exclusivity of the program administrator, and which, no one disputes that. Apparently, that's how it was. But I see exclusivity of being a program administrator as distinguished from being a sole provider. So, for example, if Charter Communication is authorized to sell their wares in the city, it's not saying that DirecTV cannot do it. It's just an opportunity to give choice to the residents of the community. And I certainly appreciate Chairman Moore's comment about being collaborative in this, because in the end, collaboration is what's going to help our city most. But I also like to say that in the collaboration process, I think, delaying could be a part of the strategy here in terms of, continuing discussions, and so I just wanted to note that. And then finally, I'd just like to ask, as you consider this, to support choice for the residents of the city of St. Louis. Thanks.
Thank you. Alderman Vollmer?
No, thank you very much for your comments, Carol.
No question.
Alderman Moore? Alderwoman Ingracia? Alderman Bosley? Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. And I think the sponsor would like to
Sum it up.
sum it up. Is that correct?
Yes. So, I listened today. I also wanted to eliminate some of the rumors. I'm not doing this. I think there was a rumor put out that I really don't want to do this, but I'm doing it for Dave Sweeney, our former clerk. That's untrue. I want to clear that up. I sponsored this bill 2 years ago, and Lyda, who was an alderman last year, sponsored this bill. You think back when she was talking about cable, if you remember all the news we made by having only one cable company in the city of St. Louis. And all that happens, and you see it in the telephone industry and the different stuff now, the more competition, the cheaper the prices come down, and the better the product becomes. This is not to say that people can't choose the company that's here now. It says that there'll be more choices of companies. And believe me, if another company comes and says, gee, we want to be the third or the fourth or the fifth, I would take that legislation, because I strongly believe in that. I would love to have had the exclusive rights in the city of St. Louis to own the only car wash in the city of St. Louis. Because we could have charged what we want, did what we want, and anytime you eliminate competition or you don't bring on competition, I know that when I did my part with the charter school in my neighborhood, there was a lot of people that were not happy, because kids came out of the public schools, they came out of the Catholic schools. But the one thing I can say is that charter did a good job and is doing a good job. And I think that it's made the public school system a better system, and I think it's made the private school systems a little better, because it gave them something to compete against. Again, even in my own business, which was the car wash business, when Waterway and the different companies upped their game, we had to up our game. And believe me, when I first started in that, there were only, I think, 6 car washes in the city. And after a snow day, you could just about make your own rules. Then all of a sudden, there started to become a lot of car washes, and, things came down. And the other thing I just say, drive up and down Hampton Avenue. Right now, there's a UGAS, There's the new Quick Trip. There's a Shell station. It's the cheapest place you could buy gas in the city. I can tell you most places right now around $2.27. That group down there, last week, it was $1.99 at UGas. Shell is down now. And again, competition makes things better. It makes you have to perform better. So this bill, and I think that we need to make changes, and I'm certainly open to sitting down and let's add the minority participation. Let's put it in a way that, you know, these bills never come out of committee the way they go in, unless it's a stop sign or something. But, you know, I think we should look at this. I think we should put in the bill what we believe it needs to make it palatable. And I just strongly believe in competition. And I want to thank the chairman and co-chairman for at least giving me the opportunity to, none of it's a fact. I mean, it's a fact we need competition, but the opportunity to speak. And I'm willing to answer any questions.
No
Vollmer?
questions. Thank you, sir.
Alderman Moore, Chairman.
Yes, I just want to say that this committee, I recommend that we do some collaboration here, and this committee won't hear this bill but one more time, and we're going to vote it out up or down, one way or the other. And I think we need to come together, and like you, I would love to own a car wash in town too. But it's not going to happen, so let's come together, put in whatever amendments we're going to do with this ordinance and make it a good policy for the people so that we can vote on it and get it out there. And again, I say because we need clean energy. So if there's no effort of collaboration, we're going to vote it the way the committee see fit.
Thank you, Mr.
So
Chairman.
we want everybody to come together, Rockwood, Hero, and Green, come together and put something together and bring it back. And we want to do it soon. Give us an opportunity to read all this material, and then we'll come back together real soon and get it out.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it.
Alderwoman Gracia? Thank you. Alderman Bosley?
No question.
If there are no further questions, this matter has been heard until and to be resumed at a time to be deemed by the chairman.
Thank you. I'm ready for lunch.
Thank you.
So this meeting adjourned? Yeah.
This meeting is now currently adjourned.